Welcome back, fellow historians, to our study of the history of colonial and revolutionary New York. In today's lesson, we're going to learn about European navigators who explored New York. For this lesson, you're going to need a notebook, a pencil, and your investigating hat. So please pause this video now. You can go and gather your materials and copy down your teaching point. As always, you can pause the video at any time to copy down any notes that you would like to take. So to recap, in our last lesson, we learned about something called the Age of Exploration. This started in the 1400s and lasted until the 1700s. It began with Christopher Columbus when he sailed to the Caribbean islands and South America, and he discovered it. And so the motivation behind the Age of Exploration was for the Europeans to find a different way or route to Asia. Of course, we know that they did not find a new route to Asia. In fact, they found two continents, North America and South America. And this led to the Europeans calling North America and South America the New World. Now, their goals also changed as navigators and explorers began to discover North America and South America. Of course, they were still looking for a new way or a new passage to Asia. But they also realized that North America and South America had many resources that they could use for the country. And that led to the colonization of the New World. So to colonize means one country taking control over another. And we're going to learn about colonization in our future lessons. But our main focus for today is to actually take a look at European navigators who had discovered and explored New York. Our first explorer, his name was Giovanni da Verrazano. He was the first European explorer to discover New York. He was actually Italian, so he was born in Italy, but the French monarchy employed him, or they paid him to travel to the New World or to look for a new way to Asia. And he was employed by France in 1524. And he discovered New York during his expedition. But even though he was the first to discover New York, he really didn't stay and explore. So, in fact, unfortunately, the French did not claim New York in 1524 to be a part of their property. 85 years later, in 1609, Henry Hudson came to New York. He was an English-born navigator. That means he was born in England, but he was employed or paid by the Netherlands or the Dutch monarchy. And this time, he claimed the lower part or the southern part of New York for the Netherlands. So that meant that in 1609, the southern part of New York officially belonged to the Netherlands. Now, during that same year, a few months later, another navigator by the name of Samuel de Champlain came from Canada, and he tried to claim New York for France. So if we take a look at his explorations, you will see that in 1603, he came from France, and he actually discovered and explored what we know now as Canada. And in 1604, he continued to explore. So by that time, Canada was claimed, or it was owned by the French. In 1609, if you take a look at this dotted line, he came down from Canada and he tried to explore New York and claim it for France. He was successful in claiming the northern part of New York for France. However, he wasn't able to continue on his exploration because the Iroquois were resisting or fighting against the French. So at that time, the northern part of New York belonged to France, and the southern part belonged to the Dutch or the Netherlands. So what was the implication, or what is the meaning, or what was the meaning of this? Well, this led to the Dutch building a fort in 1614. 5 years later, they built a fort and they named it Fort Nassau. It became the first European settlement of New York. And then that led to the Dutch sending settlers, or sending some of their citizens to move and live in New York. So by 1623, the Dutch had successfully colonized the lower part of New York, and it became the first European colony of New York. So to recap for this lesson, we learned that Verrazano discovered New York. 85 years later, Hudson explored the southern part of New York and claimed it for the Dutch. And during that same year, Champlain also explored the northern part of New York, but he wasn't successful in claiming all of New York. That led to the colonization of New York by the Dutch, and the Dutch named this new colony New Netherlands. So it's investigation time. You're going to watch a video entitled Henry Hudson, and you're going to keep this question in mind. How did Henry Hudson's discovery affect or impact Europe and the New World? And I would like for you to make a connection. You're going to think about what his goals were. How did his discovery, did it help Europe? Did it help the Native Americans that were living there? How did it contribute to what was happening or to the colonization of New York? And as always, I will see you next time in our next video.